As death is a part of life, so is heartbreak a part of love. Hello, everybody. This is God's Girl G. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. And for those of you who have returned to my channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe. Doing so will ensure that you don't miss any of the videos that I upload, which I do on a weekly basis. And during the course of this video, if you hear something that you like, hit the thumbs up or comment below. I read all my comments and I do try to respond accordingly. So let's get into today's discussion. There is a unique shame and brokenness associated with breakups. Relationships and love may be celebrated in church more than anywhere else because we love marriage so much. Unfortunately, these same convictions make breakups uncomfortable, at best embarrassing, and at worst humiliating. Part of the pain of a broken heart comes not only with fear of being alone, but also fear of feeling alone, as if no one could possibly understand what you're experiencing. It's not just about losing the person that you were with, but also the life that you thought you would have had. But let's face it, no one starts a relationship hoping to break it off someday. You date because you see that there's potential there. And the longer that you date, the harder it will be to get over the breakup. What makes breakups so hard is this word called intimacy, what is shared between two people during the course of a relationship. And before some of y'all come for me about the word intimacy, I want to break down what I mean by the word intimacy. You can have intimacy in your dating relationship without sex. You can. Intimacy, it can be defined as the ability to meet yourself when you are near someone else. And even the word intimacy, it is into me see. And there are 4 types of intimacy that I want to get into real quick before I talk about how to get over a breakup. There's physical intimacy that involves hugging, kissing, and touch. There's mental intimacy that yields comfort with communicating beliefs and viewpoints without worrying about potential conflicts. There's spiritual intimacy that involves not just religious practices, but the closeness that forms when you share poignant moments with the person that you're with. This can be through prayer, through worshiping together, as an example. And then there's emotional intimacy, which involves candid, authentic sharing of thoughts and feelings. It creates a safe space. And it's the extent of the intimacy that can cause the breakup to be so painful. So I want to give you some tips for how to get over a breakup. Tip number 1, it's an obvious tip. Turn to God. God is there when you feel like your heart has been shattered into a million little pieces. The most important first step for anyone is to turn to Him. God will not only fix your broken heart, He will open it up to the amazing things that life has to offer for your future. God always works in mysterious and awesome ways. Tip 2, honor your emotions. And if you're going to cry, cry with an agenda. In the book Acts of Faith by Iyanla Vanzant, she explains that crying is a release, a cleansing, and an expression. But if you're going to cry, cry with an agenda. Are you crying because you're angry? Are you crying because you're frightened, worried, or elated? There's many different types of cry, but why are you crying? What is it that you're crying about? It is important to identify that. We may cry about a particular situation, but there's an underlying emotion that must be expressed. When done properly, crying brings clarity and healing to the body and the spirit. So the moment the tears flow, just write down your agenda on why you crying. And I get it. The most difficult task for a person with a broken heart is to stand still and feel the cracks of the brokenness. But that is exactly what must be done. You must feel. You have to grieve in order to move on. And feeling heartache is a part of that healing process. It is okay to be sad. And in fact, if you're not sad, it's a little concerning. Your heart is broken. A relationship that you deeply cared about, it has ended. But Psalms 30 verse 5 reminds us, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. This too will pass. Next, reorient your time. It's easy to feel alone when you first break up. Rather than resenting your new state of singleness, embrace this time. And since you're not spending time with your significant other, it can be tempting to wallow in those negative emotions. But wallowing in those negative emotions can do damage if they're not balanced out by other emotions and experiences. There are a lot of productive ways to use your time after a big breakup. Submerge yourself in prayer. Surround yourself with people who love you. Engage in activities that bring you joy. Cross something off your to-do list and help others. Some people's greatest ministry is birthed out of great suffering. So use your heartache as a means to help and comfort others. Paul writes about God in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 4, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort that we ourselves are comforted by God. God will sometimes comfort us by sending others to us. Helping others will help you feel better, and it will provide you with some much needed perspective. Tip 4, delete their number. Yes, I said it, delete their number. This will help you detach versus desperately trying to win them back. As difficult as it may seem, the best dose of medicine is to break free altogether. This includes unfriending and unfollowing on social media. If you genuinely want to get over them, then you'll have to take this challenging step. If you stay in constant contact, you will delay your healing or more likely hinder it completely. Don't look at deleting their number out of your phone as losing something. Instead, think of it as making emotional and digital space for something better to take its place. Tip 5, remember clarity, not failure. It might be tempting to think that this breakup of the relationship is a failure. But remember, the purpose of dating is to gather information. And so the information that you've gathered and the events that have taken place gave you the clarity that you needed. So here's a perspective to think about the breakup offering clarity versus it being a failure. What did the relationship teach you about yourself? What did it teach you about dating? What did it teach you about what you want or didn't want in a spouse? Write that information down and remember those things the next time you enter into a relationship. Tip 6, dare to be vulnerable again. As I stated in my opening, as death is a part of life, so is heartbreak a part of love. It may be tempting in the midst of pain to become cynical about loving someone again. Once our hearts are burned and bruised from a relationship that ended, we have two options. We can close off pieces of our heart so that no one will be able to get inside, or we can love again deeply and just as intensely as we did before. C.S. Lewis wrote these words, "To love at all is to be vulnerable. Allow your heart to heal, but do not give up on love. Do not let your heart become unbreakable. Dare to be vulnerable again." Tip number 7, know your value. One of the most important things to remember when dealing with a breakup is that your partner's negative words and feelings about you do not define your true worth. You had worth before and during the relationship. Your value cannot be damaged or diminished by a breakup, no matter how painful the end of the relationship feels. If you are fixated on what you thought you lost in the past, how can a new love in your life compete with that? The new love will always feel second best, and that isn't fair to them. Let the past go and create a new future for the person that God will place in your life. When you have a broken heart, you can turn to God in order to begin to heal. God will never leave your side, and He will hold you even in the darkest moments. Your life is never over due to a breakup. In fact, a recent breakup is the first step towards a new beginning. Thank you for joining me today, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Bye.